There we go. All right. I'm so excited.
Hey, so am
Guys,
I.
yeah, no, this is we're doing a great follow-up interview with Perry Young. Season 2 of Warrior is out. He plays Father June. I have to say, same thing for my my review. You're such a sweet person. So whenever I
Oh,
watch this Father June, I'm like, oh my god. I'm just
thank
very
you.
excited, and thank you so much for being here for the interview. And I have a couple of questions because I was very blown away from season 1, and then season 2 is a whole other different roller coaster ride.
Right, right.
So I wanted to kind of ask you, like, Father June, like in season 1, he rules like the hot boy like with an iron fist. Like he doesn't take any favoritism to his son. He makes it very clear everyone gets the same rules. And I kind of wanted to know, like since you're so nice and so laid back, what parts of your aspects of yourself did you pull from to like to bring Father June to life? Because he's so hardcore. You're like, oh my god.
Well, the thing about art and acting is we get to explore parts of ourselves that we don't present outwardly, socially. So I think all of us as human beings have, uh, different facets to ourselves. And there's the nice, happy side of everyone, then there's the angry, frustrated side of everyone. And I think for season 2, by the time that came around, I didn't want to lose the edge of Father June, because season 1 established that he's a revolutionary. He's fighting for his people. The reason he has the hot way is to prevent the ducks from killing us. I mean, we're talking Malcolm X here. We're not talking about Martin Luther King or Gandhi. So this guy's a revolutionary. He's assembled an army to fight the ducks, uh, to protect our people. That's what it's about. So I didn't want to lose that edge, but I was drawing upon, what's happening in America right now. It's like we are at war with oppressors. So Father June is Malcolm X. What would Malcolm X be doing right now? He would be fighting. So Father June is still fighting, and I'm drawing upon our circumstances in the political arena in America right now. And the oppression of people of color, women, LGBTQ communities, that's happening.
Yeah. Okay, wow. Okay, because I was like, because you're so sweet, and I was just like, every time I watch it, I'm just like, I'm so scared.
Well, the flute playing keeps me sweet.
Oh, speaking of what, that was actually my next question. So in season 1, you were playing the flute. Did you create the song? I had to know because there's that
Well,
one. I heard it coming, and I was like, "Is that Perry?" And then like I ran back to the TV.
I made the flute, um, and I improvised on a lot of themes that basically sounds for the initial recording. And then when they
Hmm.
came back to score the episode, the composer Riza is amazing. He just had me play some variations on some melodies that he sent me. So it was a great recording session. I was traveling. I was in London at the time, and we found a studio for me to go into, and I knew that I'd be recording that while I was traveling. So I
Hmm.
brought I brought a flute in that key just to be able to record for him. So
That
it's
is
Riza's composition. Yeah.
That's so awesome because it's such a it sort of introduces like a new aspect to Father June that you may or may not have been I guess exposed to, because you see like he has such an iron fist, and then you start to see like this softer side of him just for like a second, and then in season 2 you start to see more of it, especially in his relationship with young June, because it seems like in season 2 you kind of take on more of a parental role, like, all right, I told you not to do that. I told you not to do that. and, and you seem like an annoyed parent who's like, be calm, be calm. And then like as your temper is just like rising, you're like, all right, did I tell you not to do that?
It's
um
great. It's great. You sort of captured Father June's patience right there. He's teaching his
yeah,
son
with
patience.
right, he's trying so hard, and young June is just he's just not seeing it whatsoever. So like what I wanted to know was like I guess for that tactic of being patient within Father June, did you pull from your own self as a parent as well, like this is how I would try to be a little bit more patient with my child?
Completely. I wouldn't have had that patience if I didn't have children. Children, my kids, they're teens now. They really taught me what patience means.
I've heard a lot of parents saying that. So far, I haven't had one yet, but it always fascinates me whenever I hear like the different stuff, and I'm like, that's interesting. um, One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was so I'm not sure if everyone who watches the show is actually familiar that there were the Tong Wars happening in San Francisco. We did have a lot of oppression, whether it was the Chinese Exclusion Act, there were massacres happening. And it seemed like each group was going through something very severe, like during the same time. And then they didn't start changing things
Mm,
around like the 40s into the 60s, whether you were a woman, whether you were Chinese, whether you were Native American. I think around, I forget which act it was in the 60s, I believe, where they started to give back land to the Native Americans and
mm,
let them know, like, it's okay, you can leave the reservation if you want to. Because there's at one point they weren't even allowed to leave their own land, that stayed
mhm.
right where they were put. So I just find it so interesting that the show kind of like really dives into that. And during the Tong Wars in San Francisco, it seemed that China had a very strong influence on what was happening there, even though China was so far away. So do you find that like Father Jun's like undying loyalty to China is what made him such a strong warlord, or do you think it may have blindsided him when it came to Mailing?
Um, that's a good question. I don't think Father Jun was really a nationalist in terms of being China. I mean, pro-Chinese. He fought the opium wars for the people because he saw the opium was destroying people. And when he found that he couldn't do any more for the country, he went to America. And then he fought for the people in America. So he was really about his community socially. And I think when you think about tongs, originally the word tong means association. It's not a bad connotation in Chinese culture. It's like the clubhouse. So there are most of the tongs were great benevolent associations that supported your clan from the local village, but some
Mhm.
tongs engaged in nefarious activities, like the ones in Warrior.
Yeah.
So some tongs were like the mafia, while if you look at Italian clubs, or they're just clubs, right,
Yeah,
for the
it's a
the
club, it's a
community.
group, like
Right,
Italian.
right. What I really think is interesting about Warrior, and I give a great props to Jonathan Tropper, the writer, and Shannon Lee and all the other writers, is that it's a mirror of society. So if you look at all the warring tongs, you can look at culture today and look at gangs that are fighting each other, and you kind of ask, well, why are these communities killing each other? Well, obviously, it's white supremacy and racism that forces us into these boxes, and we have to fight for the little scraps. I mean, of course, if we had freedom to roam outside of Chinatown, which we didn't, and buy homes and get jobs and all that stuff, we wouldn't be fighting each other. So I think it's really about his community, his immediate community, and you see that he gives props to Mai Ling. He goes, let's see what she can do. Let's give this woman a chance. Let's just give him a chance at the end of season one, but don't mess up. So he's got a firm hand still, but he's
uh Trying to teach him patience. Do you feel like maybe Father June was disappointed in young June for, not to give anything away, but for his actions and his choices, or do you feel like he's more disappointed because he feels like young June didn't trust him?
Oh, definitely both. Definitely, if you look at historically or culturally, that the Chinese was based on Confucianism, and it's about obeying the parents no matter what. So Young Jun is American. He is not obeying the parent. So basically, I think it shows a little cultural struggle between the one that's born in America and the one that demands, a sort of uh, you know, and an observance of Confucianism. So yes, it's a little bit of both.
Okay, because I was always, is it because I wasn't sure, and it almost seems like it's like I'm asking you to trust me, and he's like, no, I'm gonna do what I want. And you're like, and I'm like, there goes that patient parent parental moment.
Yeah, yeah, that wouldn't even happen in China, or in the past in China. I don't know about today, but anybody who's raised strictly old school Chinese, I mean, anything the parents say goes.
Yeah, I was like, he's so rebellious, but I have so many other questions for him too. um, so I've also noticed that besides sort of giving Mylene like an opportunity to see what she can do, there's also like this air of confidence that she's going to fail. Um, is it because there's conflicting emotions with Mylene because you want to see what she's capable of doing, but also at the same time, she also killed a longtime friend of yours, but frenemy? Do you
Mhm.
feel like Father Drew might have taken that like a little personal, like, no, let's see what you can do. Hope you fail.
Um, I'd like to think that Father June is a benevolent person. I mean, I think he's warning her. You know, like if you think about this, the time period, you know, women were not empowered at all. So this was a moment that he can give her, allow her a little power, and see what we can do with that. I mean, when you look at Warrior in general, all the women are gaming the system. These
Yeah.
systems of oppressions that are around, surrounded by these women, you know, these are all powerful women figuring out how to game the system. So I think that it was written in a way to like, let's let Marling find a way through this. And I think that Father June is not necessarily against her succeeding. He just wants to remind her that there is a system here.
Pay
So, and
attention.
let's see how she navigates those systems. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was always wondering. I was like, technically they were like longtime friends, but frenemies, and I was like, I'm just wondering if that like influences our relationship with her.
Hmm.
Um, so filming, what was the funniest moment on set, like that ever happened on set? What was the funniest moment for you?
Oh God. You know, there's just it's such a beautiful vibe on the set. It's not really like it's not a funny show, you know, it's not comedy. It's serious. It's serious fun with a lot of beauty and respect. I mean, when you talk about Bruce Lee, everybody on the set was like, "We're not going to mess this up." You know, it's Bruce
And you
Lee.
guys haven't.
You
Like
know, and
never.
like there's so much respect because like most of the cast, if not all, were like inspired and influenced by him. I could say that I'm here as an actor because of Bruce Lee, and I could say same thing for Jason Tobin. We talked about this plenty of times, but you know, on the set, it's just so God. You know, I mean, everybody down, all the production, all the writers, um, the extras. The extras are so into what they're doing. It's amazing. You know, I just, you know, I had to interview them because they're always so cool. And when I talk to them, they're like so thankful that we're shooting this production in South Africa because they get to be in something. I'm talking about not just the Chinese South Africans, but the other South Africans, the white South Africans and the black
Mhm.
South Africans. Everybody is so thankful. I should show you some of my social media feeds coming from the extras. I mean, it was a cast of, it was Sisubita Mill of Cape Town, you know, hundreds of extras. And I would say that the thing that reminds me, it's not funny. It's like camaraderie. It's like, here's one of the most iconic modern human beings that brought us together in Cape Town. And we all have this incredible respect because he showed us what a glimpse of your own personal goal. I mean, you know, what you can be as an individual. He gave us a glimpse, like you can do this, you know. So
So, let's see. So the script, well, we kind of already kind of covered that because I do appreciate the fact that the way the dialogue is written, whether it's Father June, whether it's you know, the mayor's wife Penny, her like those minute of speeches, even at the dinner table in season 2. I love that scene. um, they really do bring to light like what's really happening in America from the past all the way up to now. And it's almost kind of just mind blowing where if you're really looking at it, if you do the math, you're like, wait a minute, this has been going on since wait a minute. So I definitely do have to applaud the show for that. So what I do also want to ask you is what is the most important thing you want the viewers to pay attention to in regards to Father June in season 2? Besides the parental side, because you're getting more patient. You're trying to be patient with young June, but also at the same time, you're just like,
I think the thing most important for me, Perry Young, the actor, and what they want to pay attention to Father June is that you have to find your own way through these systems of that guide society that are invisible that we don't know about unless you really question that. So you have to, unless you question yourself and how you react against these when these systems push back at you? How do you respond to those things? Like right now, um, in our society, how do you respond politically to what's happening? So Father Jun is doing that with the tools that were given to him in that time period. Um, so he found peace, he created power, um, found peace in a way of governing his people, and at the end, he figured, he can let it. Well, I don't want to give away. This could be a spoiler thing, but um, to be able to be okay with yourself and to be proud of yourself and your work um,
And the
against the
that you've
backdrop
made.
of society. Yeah,
So also, as I paid attention to season two, I was expecting more flute playing. So I'm
yeah.
hoping this is three, and I want to hear more of the flute because I really do.
Uh,
You're playing though. And then also, without giving it away, the very last thing you do at the end of the season, and Wang Chao, played by Hun Li, he sees you, and you guys have a very interesting relationship because it doesn't seem like Chao is really loyal to anyone. He's just sort of like, I just want to be like in the middle. I don't want to be a part of anything. But he also seems to have like loyalty to like two people, mainly you, and then a toy at the same time. So I kind of wanted to know, I guess, a little bit more about the relationship that's there because Father Jun is much older than Wang Chao, so you're trying to figure out like, well, what is it like? How come you're just a little bit more loyal to him opposed to Wai Ling or anyone else from the Long Z or the Feng Hai who love starting trouble? Um, will
well,
like this
I
also
think
be like a respect between you two from each other?
you got it. It comes down to respect. The Chinese are big on respect. There's a saying about giving face in Chinese is bei mean. It's like I'm giving you face. That means I'm respecting you. So if everybody respects each other, we can get along. So I respect all the hardships that Wang Chao has come through. Being on a kind of a Chinese slave ship, getting whipped, being dropped off at the wrong mainland and all this stuff. And he respects the fact that I fought my way up from the bottom. And the fact that I have power means Chinatown is safe right now. So he respects that. So we have an agreement where as long as Chinatown is safe, Wang Chao can do his work. He's not in threat. So if you kind of catch these one lines from Wang Chao throughout the season, he's like, does Father Jun know this? You
Yeah,
know,
he's
he's,
very
he's
quickly
almost like,
saying that.
because he knows that if you mess with my power and I fall, everything's going to fall apart, or Father Jun's power. So Wang Chao understands that there's an
You're the pillar of
equilibrium.
Chinatown. That's the truth.
Right, right. There's an equilibrium that we're all maintaining. And it's a balance. It's a balance. And so it comes down to respect of each other. And it's never really said, it's just a behavior.
Okay, I was wondering because like he's such an interesting character, and I'm just like, and he's such a well written character because he moves the story along, but he's always there like in the background, like the storyteller, and that's
Hmm.
what I love about him. But he's like always respectful with you, and then other person would be like a toy, like he's just like yeah okay, who I think is a very interesting character because I did a lot of research on her like historically, and I just thought it was so interesting that she was just so super badass. Like one of the things I had read
Yeah, a
about
toy is
her.
amazing. A toy, again, it's one of those things where if you look back at history and you really, try to investigate what was happening, you find that a lot of, people of color and women actually survived quite well within a white supremacist
Yeah.
patriarchal system, just by doing what they could. We don't give them props, we don't hear their stories, but I think those stories are coming out now, and we can see that, in sort of the revisionist history that's happening is like a lot of people of color made this country what it is and never got credit for it.
That's the beautiful thing about Warrior because I watch my Netflix, my HBO, I watch everything, and one of the things that I can really appreciate about Warrior is its originality. So people forget that when you're doing storytelling, you're really retelling the same story over and over. The question is how you tell it. And
Mm.
as much as I like some remakes, it gets tiresome. And when I look at Warrior, I'm like, this is a story that pulls the viewers in. It's such rich culture. You get to see from everyone's perspective of what's going on, and it's relatable to the past, to the present. it's it's so beautifully written, and I'm just like, this show is addicting. Like when I
It,
finished the show, I was just like, where's season three? And I'm like, oh, I can't contact them for them just yet. Um,
It
and then
is beautifully written. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, they're visionary in what they wanted to show, the statement of the show. I mean, it's so timely right now. Everything that's happening, the anti-Asian violence, it's happening right now. And the thing about the show is it's a call to arms. I mean, it's a mirror of society, and at the same time, it's a hammer which shapes it. So it's like, what are you doing about any of this? We can enjoy the show. It's like medicine. It's sugar-coated medicine, like, but
yes.
it's like it's good for our pain right now, but how are you going to get over this? How are you going to heal yourself? How are you going to heal this country? What are you doing about this? Because it's happening right now.
And that's the great thing. Like it's when I like really dive into a show, I like television shows and movies that provoke conversation and that provokes thought, that makes people sit there and think about things like, wait a minute, or make you want to like research things. And that's what makes Warriors so like so incredible. And the violence that's happening now that started because of COVID, that's ridiculous. It's stupid. We've had the Spanish flu. There were diseases that were brought over when white settlers came to the Native Americans. They actually gave them a diseased blanket, I believe, for
Mhm.
Thanksgiving.
Right, right.
Just
It's
some dark history, like across the world. So like when I see violence happening like that, whether you think it's because they're Asian, because they're gay, because they're skinny, they're tall, they're fat, I'm just like, it's ridiculous. And I told you a little bit about that before because my family's so like weirdly diverse. They're all just weird looking, but I love them anyway. So when I see violence happening like that, for me, I'm just like, that could be a cousin of mine, and for me, that bothers me like so much. When I see shows like this, I'm like, yeah, this should get people's attention, just to let you know this is what's happening around us. Um, I did have one last
completely.
question because I was
Mhm.
on your Instagram as usual, as you know, because I'm always on your Instagram. Like, oh, that's an awesome photo. I saw you were doing a live video where you were repairing a flute for Komuso, and I just wanted to know how long does that take to repair?
Oh, it depends on the damage. I'm lucky. I'm very fortunate to have another career as a shakuhachi craftsman and musician. So flutes, they're bamboo instruments, like any instruments. They need repair. They need to be tuned or things like that. So I'm very fortunate that I can help people repair flutes from all over the world. But the most basic damage is a crack because bamboo likes to crack. So I bind them. Other things like a broken mouthpiece or some internal damage where I need to repair with plaster. So those are more complicated because it involves tuning and playing the instrument at a high level, understanding what level this instrument is supposed to be at, the tone color, um, all those things. Yeah. So it could be a simple repair within a day or 2 months.
Oh wow. Okay. I was close. I saw it. And I was like, it looks so beautiful, and then I was just like, I wonder how long that takes. I love the flute. I have three instruments that I'm absolutely in love with. It's the drum,
Wow.
flute, and the guitar. Those are the three things. If I hear someone playing it, I just follow like Phantom of the Opera. I'm just like, where's that sound coming from? um,
Amazing. Instruments are amazing. I mean, these instruments that I work with are priceless. They're handmade instruments. They're not, you can't manufacture. Well, there are wooden and plastic instruments for beginners, but like the
mhm.
real handmade shakuhachi, they're all handmade. So they're priceless. They're one of a kind. So it's really takes a very kind of a mindful, sensitive approach to each instrument to like meet it where it is and see what it needs, as opposed to enforce your own philosophy upon it. So it's kind of like acting. Like what does the scene call for? Like I'm not going to just come in and say my lines. I need to know what's happening here and connect and tell the story with your scene partner. So, and in flute making, the flute is my scene partner. So it's a gift. I'm humbled to have it.
I won't lie. Like when I listen, the link that you had given me before, and I was listening to it, it's so calming, and it just sort of like removes me from what's happening
Mm.
around me. And I have to say, because at the time when you had sent it to me, my grandmother had just passed away, and I was like very
Oh,
frustrated, and I was just like kind of all over the place. But you just happened to send me the link. You're like, yeah, I made this for my uncle, and it was so calming. And I just kept playing it on the thing, and I was just
oh,
like
wow. Okay.
like very nice. And
Yeah, you're not the only one that told me they kept playing it over and over, and even continuously revisit that link. It was made with my great uncle passed away, and I made it because to help my cousin. And he said it, once he heard it, immediately he felt calm. And this is the
It's in
moment where, yeah, because it's about breathing. I mean, like the Komuso played these instruments because it regulated the breathing. They were meant to, as a way of meditation, as opposed to concert music that other instruments and music were made for. So this was a way for the Komuso monks to breathe, regulate the breathing, just hear a vibration in the room. And so once we hear that and we hear the silence of the inhalation, and then we connect with the breathing, and that actually calms our frontal lobe. It's all scientific, and even before they knew it was scientifically based, it's just from life experience. But yeah, it's just breathing. We connect with the player's breath, and then immediately calms us down.
I have to admit, though, you inspired me to go back to like looking at flutes again, because I used to have one as a kid, because we would go to like the powwows, and I'd be up there dancing with
Wow.
the flute and stuff like that. And then mysteriously, two things went missing. Well, actually, three. My click clacks, mom, I'm talking to you. My flute. And I'm sure you've seen it where it's like a mini drum on the stick, and it can beat the drum. Those are three
Yes.
things that are mysteriously missing.
Oh
So
no.
like I think I'm gonna go back. I really miss the flute. So I've been peaking. Don't have the money just yet. Living on an aspiring actor's budget.
Mm,
So,
right.
but yeah, but you've inspired me, and it kind of just you remind me so much of the things that like I guess make me feel very connected. And I'm just like, I think I'm gonna go back. It'll be many years before I get to your level, but you've inspired me to like head back to where I was.
I always tell people, like, don't worry about where you need to get to. Like, enjoy where you are.
That's also very true. um, uh, season three.
Oh, well, the story about Cinemax, ATT purchasing HBO, corporate reshuffling, so they basically stopped original programming at Cinemax, and it's all going to go just, um, basically into just like streaming. And we're lucky that HBO Max is going to pick up Warrior 1 and 2 when the season ends, so that we'll get a whole new audience. And when that whole new audience screams for season 3, we might get a season 3.
Okay, trust me, I'll be putting up petitions. I'll do a GoFundMe.
Thank
I
you. I think
really
we all will. Yeah, it's an amazing show. I mean, really, it's like for a Chinese American, it's our roots. Like when Alex Haley came out with Roots in the 70s, I remember, wow, the African community was like, this is our story. Warrior is our story. I mean, it's telling everything it needs to tell to say, it's all here now. History is here. I mean, it's offered on a platter of entertainment, and kung fu martial arts and beautiful looking.
entertainment.
Yes, and beautiful looking people. I'm not one of them, but the other beautiful looking
You
people.
are, but I have to admit though, I am in love with Young Dream though.
That's okay, and you're not alone. but but so it's
Embarrassed actually.
it's history offered to you in a nice way where you can contemplate it and challenge yourself.
That's listen, guys, we got a petition for season 3. I need season
Let's
3.
do it. Let's do it.
But all the actors, all you guys are so sweet and so interactive. In fact, I actually embarrassed myself because often when I do reviews, I'll jokingly say like Michelle Yeoh is like my wife. Like I make these jokes all the time. And of course, Jason Tobin, I refer to him as my husband, who doesn't even know that we're married. And I post up, and on Instagram, he's like, "I'm gonna go watch it." I turned red, and I'm just like,
No.
I was like, I'm so embarrassed. He's gonna interview me. I'm like, husband, huh? I'm like, yeah.
Jason is one of the most giving actors I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So giving, so supportive. There were some moments where it was like this is one of those, okay, this is a moment of not so fun on the set, was because of rain, a certain shoot had to be postponed. So they pushed one of my scenes ahead with very little notice. And it was like, oh my God, I don't have my lines memorized, but what the heck? I have to go do it. So while we're shooting it, I just couldn't remember my lines because and Jason is just so supportive. He's like, give it to me again. Once the camera's on me, it's my take, give it to me again. So it's like with another actor, I wouldn't have been able to get through a tough day of not knowing your lines, So he's such a sweet, sweet person.
That's good to know because you guys all seem like you're very close. Well, and it's very interesting, especially when I see like Kieran View, like the way he responds, even though I can tell he's acting, and I'm like, oh, he gets along with everyone. Like you can tell, like everyone gets along. I think the only one that confused me was like Dylan Leary, because I'm like, oh my god, he's so intense. Which is interesting. He
We're
really
definitely a family. We have a family vibe, and really, it's fun. It's so fun. Everyone is so fun. I mean, it's amazing. Really is amazing.
you guys, and then that's the most important part for well, like when you're filming, you can tell when the cast actually gets along, when they relate to each
Mm.
other. You can tell, even though they're acting like, yeah, this is good vibes, and it keeps the vibes like kind of just coming out to the audience too. I'm so I'm excited you guys will be moving over to HBO, and I'm looking for the season 3, and I will petition, I will fight for it. You let me know on Instagram, like, look, we
Thank
don't see
you.
it. Great. I will make a throw a fit.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We got to get
You
a
guys,
hashtag going.
I will. I really do appreciate the show so much, especially with the historical references. And I'm a nerd, obviously, with all my stuff you can tell in the background. So like I do a lot of excessive reading on history, and I
Mm.
just love like learning as much as I can. And I think it's a great way of opening up the doors for Chinese actors to do other roles, especially in Hollywood. I am a little disappointed I didn't see Young Jun's lover this season. That's the only thing I have to say. The Native American girl he was in love with. I was like, where is she? Is she coming back? But
Yeah.
you guys
Yeah.
really door for Spanish Americans, Black Americans, and you're kind of just including everyone into the mix, and it's such a beautifully diverse show. I also think it's fun how you guys explain who's speaking Cantonese and who's not.
Mm.
So I thought that was very interesting, especially how like the camera goes around and you see what they're really saying, and they're just talking.
That's a
um,
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant device. How they came up with that. It's because they didn't want us to have accents, and like it's beautiful how they did that, and we can all be ourselves, and how a toy and Wang Chao plays with that sort of Ching Chongy accent. I talk like this, with the
right.
Caucasians, and then suddenly when they're off, when there's no Caucasians in the scene, bang, they're so articulate, and it's quite amazing. Yeah, it
It's
just
it's
showcases the strength of these actors. You know,
yeah.
yeah, these actors are awesome. They can play that, and look how we see them when they do that. And then when with it, if you're in their world, they're incredibly intelligent.
That's the beautiful part about that, because I realized that in season 1. I was like, that's so clever. I was like, I love how that's done.
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
Especially when Young Jun and Assam are in the back and have to deal with like the racist guy, and they're like dealing with the priest, and the priest is like, no, they're human too, and that one guy just would not like let up. Just
Right,
would not.
right.
um the show is just, it's absolutely just beautiful, and I'm all for you guys. And obviously I'm like very excited every time I like watch it. I've been bothering my friends like, you want to come over and watch it, do you want to come over and watch
Aw,
it, like
thank you so much for your support. I mean, it's not reaching a big audience because it's a specialized subscription. Cinemax off HBO is an extra subscription if you subscribe to HBO. So
yeah.
not a lot of people have seen it, although it's got incredible reviews. I mean, just a couple of reviews that came out last week was like it's the best thing on TV that you
It
should
is.
be watching. You know, um,
It's
and
worth
I agree.
flat
I
out. It's
agree.
worth the
Yeah.
subscription.
Yeah. So, but what I think once it drops on HBO, it's going to be a whole other sort of like buzz. Yeah.
I'm so excited for you guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time just to come talk with me about the show. I'm looking forward to my interviews with Kieran View, which I have a lot of questions to ask him because he's playing on the confusing Irish team. Because like one minute he's just like, I just want to be a good cop, and the next minute he's like succumbing to like his own gambling issues. You're like, man, you got a lot going on there. He's very human in that sense, like of just falling apart with having that strong weakness, and then also trying to overcome it at the same time. And of course, my hubby that I embarrass myself on Instagram with. but,
Jason, yeah. So
but
we You should ask them both about a group called Three Tongs and a Cop.
Three tongs and a cup. Oh, I shall ask them.
Ask them, yeah. So,
um, but
yeah, well,
yes,
thank you.
thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to and many more projects that you're going to be in. Because like you have a very strong, reputable list on all the things that you're doing, and I appreciate your work like as an actor. And I just thought you should know, just as a fan, but also as an aspiring actress yourself. Like I respect the work that you do, really do put out. So.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, there's so much happening for, not enough, but the doors opening for people of color and especially Asian Americans who, we're just above Native Americans or indigenous people in terms of representation from Hollywood. We're
Yes.
so tiny in numbers, but even indigenous people are even less. So, I mean, I would say that let's go out and support our independent film festivals because that's where we're making that's where we're honing our chops, our skills, and making great content. Yeah.
Yes, that's the most important part. Thank you again so much, and you have yourself a wonderful day. And thank you everyone for watching. Again, this is Perry Young. He plays Father Jun in Warrior.
Thanks, Kadma. Take care. See you soon.
You too. Bye.
Bye.